Hello, Joanne Andrus here to help you know how to hold your violin or viola properly. Okay, all right, so I have my violin here. I have an awesome shoulder rest. Okay, um, there's no right or wrong. It's kind of up to you what kind of shoulder rest you like. This is an Everest, and I do like it. You need to make sure that it's on the correct way, or it's not going to feel good. Okay, so make sure that it's going the opposite direction. There's a little curve in most shoulder rests, and so make sure that that curve is going the opposite direction of the bottom of your instrument. Okay, so it's not a smiley face, it's a frowny face. That's what I've heard a lot of kids say. Okay, so make sure that your shoulder rest is on properly. Let's talk about how to get it on, okay, because a lot of people have a hard time with that. So I usually just kind of slide it on there and then slide and slide. Okay, has those little ridges that just fit on the ends of this little ridge part here of the bounce. Okay, all right, so how to hold. Okay, the number one thing I think is having a good shoulder rest. If you don't invest in a good shoulder rest, you will probably come to regret it, because it's just hard to hold it correctly if you just have a sponge or something kind of flimsy that's not really going to help you to hold it. Because our goal with holding the instrument correctly is to be able to hold it like this. Okay? We want to be able to hold it with our shoulder rest and the side right here of our chin and our jaw. It is not held with this part. We don't hold it like this. Okay? And we don't hold it like this in front of us. Okay? The violin needs to be held out to the side. And so I know this is called a chin rest, but it's really more of a jaw rest. Okay? It really has that part of our jaw that's holding the instrument. Okay? The reason we want to be able to do that is so that our hand is free to move. It can do whatever it needs to do when we have all of that in place. Okay? I'm going to adjust this just a little bit. My window's glaring. Okay, so I want to just show you a little bit about how to hold the instrument down here. Okay, so we know how we want to hold it with our shoulder and our jaw. Okay, now as we get ready to hold, we want to make sure that this thumb never gets very high. We don't want it to be way up here like this. Okay, we want to keep it down. We always want to keep a little bit of space right here. This little window needs to always be open. Okay, this actually is the part of our hand that goes on the other side of the fingerboard. Okay, so here's our thumb, just barely sticking up. We should just barely be able to see the top part of that. Okay, and then this is actually the part that's right by the fingerboard. So we can make tables. I like to call them little tables. Do you see how your fingers can just hit the fingerboard beautifully when we have that position? Okay, we want that space. All right, okay, so at first you might feel like you need a little bit of support there, but eventually hopefully you can even just kind of release a little bit of that tension. Okay, all right, so then we have our tables. Okay, we want to make sure that the fingers hit the fingerboard accurately and very hard. Okay, so that's going to come when we have the wrist in the proper positioning. Okay, a lot of times new violin and viola players will kind of think, oh, I got to press really hard, so I better get my hand up there so that I can support my fingers, right? No. Okay, don't do that. The reason is that you end up actually kind of limiting the mobility of these fingers. They don't move as well. Okay, when you have that that wrist up like this. Okay, and notice that my thumb actually ended up leaning back. Okay, so one of the keys to fixing this problem is to get that thumb up straight. Okay, The thumb has to be up straight so that the wrist can be straight. And that doesn't mean back like this, right? Because then I've created tension a different way. So we don't want it that way, we don't want it this way. We want just that happy medium place where we have the most mobility with our fingers so that they can move and do what they want to do and what they need to do. Okay? All right, the last thing I want to mention is that we want to make sure as you are learning how to do this that you just keep everything as flexible as possible. Okay? Each string is going to have a little different feel to it because of where it lies on the fingerboard, right? So your highest string, violas, that would be your A string. Violins, that's your E string. You're actually going to be kind of scooching your fingers almost on top of themselves, okay, to get them curvy enough so that you're using the proper positioning on your E string, which is so different than how you're going to feel on the G string. Do you see how I had to really extend my fingers, scooch them out a little bit more? I'm still curving them though. See how I didn't flatten them? Okay, we don't ever want flat fingers because then we are actually covering more than one string, and we need tunnels. Okay, I'm going to be doing another video on tunnels pretty soon. Okay, so stay tuned for that. But you'll want to make sure that you have good hand position on all of your strings. Okay, so as you get higher, your fingers are going to obviously get curvier and closer together so that by the time you're on the E string, you're here. Okay? All right. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. For now, that's really all you need to know as far as a beginner goes. As you get more advanced, there's much more to it because you'll end up doing shifting and all kinds of cool things that get you way up high on the violin or viola. Okay? But for now, I think that's it. I hope that was helpful. And if you have any comments or questions, please put them below. Okay? Have a great day.